may be somewhere between 25 and 30 scholarship/voucher programs in the United States if we include those that are generated by tax credits. But there's only one judicially created voucher system in the United States, and that's the New Jersey pre-K voucher, which was created in the Abbott decision by the New Jersey Supreme Court when, after flailing for years, the plaintiffs in Abbott decided that, well, the real explanation for why we continue to have failing urban school districts in New Jersey is we need to have a pre-K program before they enter public schools. And since the New Jersey public schools didn't have a pre-K program, they basically voucherized it. The court did. And so you have pre-K vouchers. Now there happens to be federal funding for pre-K vouchers, just as there are federal voucher programs for post-secondary education. Some of you may be familiar with them. They're the federally subsidized guaranteed student loan program, the Pell Grant program, and the GI Bill. Those are all voucher programs. We are comfortable with vouchers for child care expenses and pre-K education before kids get to the public school years. And we're comfortable with voucher systems after you graduate from college. But we want everybody to continue to have to go to the monopolistic public school system as much as humanly possible. And it just doesn't compute, either constitutionally or from a policy standpoint. If the competition that vouchers engender at the post-secondary level, where we're generally recognized to have the best higher education colleges and universities in the world, if it's okay for vouchers there, why not try and use them at the elementary and secondary level where it's generally understood that we're about 25th among the industrialized nations of the world? The Abbott case and New Jersey education have failed. They have increased expenditures to a dramatic degree, yet there are still 45 failing public high schools in Newark, 25 in Patterson, and 24 in Camden. How can this be? Professor Tractenberg basically suggests that we should double down, that what we need to do is increase expenditures on public education in the Abbott districts. That's fine, but where is the money going to come from? At some point, you're basically just robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it hasn't worked yet because the schools, the urban schools, continue to fail in New Jersey by New Jersey standards. I mean, these aren't some outside standards that I'm making up. This is by New Jersey's own evaluation. The New Jersey urban public school districts subject to Abbott, where we're spending perhaps over $20,000 per student, continue to fail. Something different has to be tried. Something different needs to be tried because you can't afford to double down. Now, I didn't suggest, or didn't mean to suggest, that school vouchers will somehow miraculously improve the performance of low-income inner-city children to be comparable to their rich peers in wealthy suburban districts. All I'm suggesting is that we can do better by urban school children. We can do a lot better. And the simple fact that at this point the public schools have essentially a monopoly provides you with exactly what monopolies always provide: high cost, low quality. I'm not suggesting that competition is some immediate panacea. I do suggest that in the areas where there has been competition from voucher type program. School districts have done some unique things. For example, Milwaukee, where 20,000 children are in the voucher program, with another 20,000 in charter schools. The public school district renegotiated their contract with the teachers union. And as far as I know, it's the only school district in the country where under the collective bargaining agreement, the district has the authority to assign the best teachers to the worst schools. Normally, assignment of teachers is done by seniority. And where do the best teachers want to go? They want to go to where the best students are. And that's how you get the cycle of having the best teachers in the best schools and the worst teachers in the worst schools. Yet Milwaukee, of all urban school districts, the only one where it's the reverse, and where the administration can try and assign the best teachers to the worst schools. I mean, those of you who follow public education have only to look at the article in the New York Times about New York City's rubber rooms to understand part of what's wrong with urban public education. 900 teachers sitting around, in rooms out of the classroom for years at a time, and those are the teachers who've been accused of misconduct. You have another 600 or 700 teachers whose schools have been closed because of declining enrollment, who have been unable to be picked up by any other school, who remain on the payroll as well in other rooms. I don't know what they call those rooms. But basically, that's 1,600 teachers being paid not to teach in New York City schools. And that's not unusual. It's just because New York City's so big that it's a big scandal there. But I'm sure that right here in Newark, you have lots of public school teachers in a similar situation. And it's because school districts are unionized. The unions control the school boards to a large degree. And the teacher union contracts prevent the normal system of rewards and punishments that apply in private enterprise, and I might add, private schools. So, you can continue down your Abbott trail if you want, and you will continue to cause taxpayer revolts here in New Jersey, and you'll continue to be providing your minority citizens in your urban districts a subpar education. It is a function of the system that causes it to provide an inadequate education. You have to change the system. I would say radically change the system, or you will fail and continue to fail your urban students.
We will now move to our question and answer period. Vice President Jason LaMarca will direct the question and answers. And in asking a question, please be brief and please limit yourself to one question per turn. Come on.
Roman?
Oh, no, Joe, you want to say something?
No, I was going to adjust the setup, but I think that we're okay like this. It's fine with you guys.
Yeah, I just have a quick question. When Professor Tractenberg was quoting statistics, he kind of reminded me of what Mark Twain said about the three lies, damn lies and statistics. I feel like the problem we're talking about the voucher thing is we're skipping the issue. The issue really isn't whether vouchers help education. What vouchers, it seems like what they do is they're trying to address some of the symptoms of a bad system. And part of the bad system is you have all these teachers unions who probably care more about themselves than the students. I feel like what makes a good student is someone who's motivated, because parents are motivated to make sure the kid does a good job. And the good teachers are the teachers who are motivated. I feel like, my question is, do we have to, and this is to Professor Tractenberg, do you feel like the way the system of teachers is set up. Tenure, it's very hard to fire teachers. You can't reward good teachers because everyone has to be treated the same way. Do you think that's a problem, and should that be fixed?
I think there are decidedly improvements that you should know, although Mark Twain's going to get thrown in my face, that if you look at academic educational achievement state by state across the country, the highest achievement is in the states with the strongest unions. Secondly, Finland is one of a couple of other countries looked at as a model for the United States to emulate. Lo and behold, Finland is entirely unionized. There aren't any non-union teachers in Finland. What they did differently, however, is to focus on building up teaching as a serious profession, supporting and rewarding teachers, not treating them punitively, not bad-mouthing them. And I just think, talk about being on the wrong track. The track we're on is, I think, a virulently anti-union track, which quickly becomes a virulently anti-teacher track, an anti-professionalism track. Who is it? George Bush has created some academy which is going to train 50,000 principals, taking them from the military and business. People who have no education background at all, and they're going to be the managers of schools. The problem with schools is we don't have enough professional support for teachers. We don't have enough mentoring. Instead, it's become a very punitive system in which you get a check mark, you're bad. If you get too many check marks, we'll try to figure out a way to get rid of you. Whereas the approach of places like Finland is exactly the opposite. It's how do we, there's an awareness there that you can't build good education without building a good teacher corps. And you don't get, with all due respect for Teach for America, you don't get a professional teacher corps by having bright young people who do it for 2 or 3 years. You're just beginning to get your teaching legs at the end of 3 years, and then you're out of it, with rare exceptions. So I think we've got it wrong in a lot of ways. I don't think that giving job security to teachers is anywhere near the top of the list for the things we've gotten wrong.
Mr. Komer, would you like to respond?
I actually tend to agree with you that.
With him or with me?
We wouldn't want that. We wouldn't want that.
My experience has been with private education has been that private schools have a far easier time of identifying, rewarding, and supporting good teaching than public school systems do. I attended 8 years of public school and 4 years of private school, and my kids have gone through, they're both, one's out of college, one's in college, and there's no question in my mind. And there's no question in my mind, having worked in a unionized environment, that in fact unions support their own interests. They don't support the interests of the children. And private education is far more flexible and responsive in terms of teachers. I would never consider teaching in a public school that was unionized, and I would have no hesitation teaching in a private school.
Again?
So Professor Tractenberg, I guess my question would be, some of the arguments seem to be a slippery slope, that if you did have privatization and vouchers, it would negatively affect the public school system. And I do agree that if you bring in for-profit, there is problems in a lot that's happening right now with higher education. My question is, if it is regulated and it is giving them an option, and there's clear evidence that it does lead to a higher graduation rate in high school, then other than issues that you believe might present itself later through the creation of these private school scholarship programs, what's the issue if this actually results in higher graduation?
Well, I don't think it does. I mean,